journalist with comprehensive knowledge in all fields of endeavor, be it politics, health, business, sports, entertainment, information, communication technology, gender, law, international affairs and diplomacy, and a host of others will objectively dissect the matter of contention. On Reporters Roundtable, fairness, objectivity, factuality, and non-partisanship is our hallmark. It's the Double RT Show with Rebecca Ewa. This and every other Thursday from 10 to 12 GMT. Make a date with us. The Reporters Roundtable, all angles, all sides. Alea actors, the die is cast. The long-awaited statement of poll by the Electoral Commission is out. All can now heave a sigh of relief as it gives a clear indication Ghana will meet the December 7 date scheduled on our electoral calendar for election 2016. Three candidates, Dr.Papa Kwesi Ndoum of the PPP, NDP's Dr. Mrs. Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, and PNC's Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama have been cleared by the EC as presidential candidates to join four others already in the race. This, in part, has been made possible by the Supreme Court ruling on Monday, November 7, which ordered the Electoral Commission to invite all the presidential candidates who were able to submit their nomination papers by the close of nomination day on 30th September 2016 and were disqualified without a hearing, and give them hearing within the extended nomination period from Monday 7th November 2016 to the close of working day of Tuesday 8th November 2016. The court ordered that in appropriate cases, the Electoral Commission should afford candidates the opportunity to comply with Regulation 9.2 of the Public Elections Regulations 2016 CI 94. Consequent to these directives, the Supreme Court of Judicature found it necessary and expedient to make a further order to stay all court proceedings pending in the various high courts against the EC by some of the disqualified presidential candidates on the same issue of having been denied a hearing to enable the Electoral Commission to carry out its mandate in line with these orders. This decision brought to a close the controversy surrounding the disqualification of some 12 presidential aspirants in the December 7 election. Although the court gave its judgment on the legality or otherwise of the case involving the disqualification of the PPP's Papa Kwesi Ndoum, the court's decision automatically affected other disqualified aspirants. But what does this really mean to stakeholders? How does it affect our elections? Does this have any connotation as far as Ghana's democracy is concerned? Has the Supreme Court verdict worked the magic of curbing the seeming tension? All these and more will be dealt with on one platform, the Reporters Roundtable, an avenue that offers viewers insight beyond what is printed in the newspaper, posted online, or aired on television or radio. I am Rebecca Ewa, and in the studio to delve deep into the finality of the legal tussle and its resultant effect is Dr. Eric Odro-Osai, Dean of Graduate Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Governance Studies. Lloyd Evans is a senior journalist and president of the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists, IFEJ. We will be later joined by Irbad Ibrahim, who is a private consultant on diplomacy, international relations, and security. He also doubles as the peace ambassador for election 2016. And Mike Okwe Jr. is also here in the capacity as a distinguished lawyer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with you, Doctor. What do you make of the unanimous decision by the 7 justices of the Superior Court of Judicature, presided over by Justice Sophia Adinyera?
Thank you very much. I think it's a victory for democracy. The Supreme Court has indicated or has shown that they are prepared for any uphill task that may arise in the upcoming elections. They have also indicated that they are prepared to allow the rule of law to prevail at all times. You know, they have also sent a signal to voters and the entire electorate that they are there to make sure that things are done right, nobody is cheated, justice prevails at all times. The most important thing for me in all of this is that it brings out the needed confidence in the judiciary. It has also deepened democracy in that if there is a challenge in the elections, one can be very sure that if you run to the court, you get the needed justice. So these are the immediate fallouts of the Supreme Court ruling. That for me is very important.
Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you. To add up, I think the Supreme Court or our judicial system is now, for me, beginning to stamp its authority on some of these things. Maybe Mike can help me in this direction. I think 2248, there was this issue, Amu and Adote. You know, I don't know whether that case came to a close. You know, these are some of the things. If we have prolonged,
close, but on the 4th year,
okay,
virtually of the term.
Okay. For a case to take 4 years to adjudicate, you know, it's a serious matter. So if now our judicial system is beginning to wake up and look at cases expeditiously, I think it will be better for all of us. And I think I congratulate the judiciary for such bold and decisive decision that it took to stamp its authority on this delicate issue. If they had not come in, you and I would not know what would really happen you know, after that. But for me, we are beginning to strengthen the structures of democracy, and we have to work hard to make sure that it is well strengthened, so that at the end of the day, Ghana will be the most important, you know, institution, yeah, you know, beneficiary. So I think we are beginning to see the light. You know, it's not all doomsday. We are beginning to see the light, and I'm happy that something good came out of it, and there's now sanity in our electoral system. But I think there are more issues that we have to delve into and talk about.
Mike, your initial reaction?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. I want to say a good day to yourself and my fellow panelists, as well as your viewers also. This issue really frightened me in the beginning, and I must say in its entirety, I was a bit worried that if there was going to be a plethora of cases at the High Court, we were going to get into some sort of confusion, especially bearing in mind that the election itself is supposed to be happening in now less than a month. And so it was very good news when the Supreme Court decided to stay all the cases at the High Court, and then use the opportunity after the reference by the EC. I must say that in every cloud there is a dark lining, because some people were upset that why is the EC appealing the High Court's ruling. But I think that on hindsight, by doing that, the EC itself also allowed us or afforded us the opportunity to be able to get a straight once and for all ruling, which would bind everybody. Because otherwise, if one High Court was saying this, there could be a variation in the ratio, or even a variation in a certain part of the obiter dicta, and so on and so forth. And then that would lead to more confusion. So I think that by the EC going to the Supreme Court to ask it to invoke its supervisory or supervisory jurisdiction on the High Courts, especially when it comes to matters of the Constitution. I think it was in the best interest of all of us, and I must say that that is a good thing that we have been able to follow, and the final ruling is what has led to the joy that was obvious in your voice, that we now have the balloting and the printing and all the rest can start. That would create certainty for the election, and it looks like we are on our way, barring of course what my brother said right now, that there are still a few issues to resolve. There's still the issue of special voting in the courts. I dare say that there could be other cases on proxy list also possibly coming up. So once all those things are resolved quickly by the Supreme Court, I think the election will take place very speedily.
Right. We've been joined in the studio by Erabat Ibrahim. He is a private consultant on diplomacy, international affairs, and security, and he is also the ambassador for election 2016. Welcome, Erabat.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for coming a bit too late.
That's all right.
Good morning to the senior colleagues on the panel, especially my good brother, Michael Kwei.
Okay, let's have your initial reaction to the decision by the Supreme Court.
I think democracy is all about inclusiveness. So right from the get-go, I was quite reticent about the decision of the Electoral Commission to bar certain political parties from taking part in the election because of clerical or administrative mistakes. Failing to dot an I or cross a T should not be enough grounds for the disqualification of any political party. And this is her debut. This is a maiden edition of her mandate or responsibility as Electoral Commission. So for me to adopt such a draconian posture does not imbue confidence, it doesn't build consensus, and therefore I'm with the Supreme Court on this decision. As peace ambassador for the election, I was privileged to address the Chief Justice and other justices of the Supreme Court during the CJ Forum recently, and I raised some of these concerns. So for me, it's a welcome piece of news. Let's get everybody roped in so that Ghanaians will have an array of choices to make.
Okay, you know, Mike, you made mention of supervisory jurisdiction.
Yes.
At what point in time can the Supreme Court exercise this jurisdiction over or against a decision of a High Court?
Well, the High Court is one of the courts which is under the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, of course, in a nutshell, is made up of the Chief Justice and other justices of the Supreme Court. They are the final appeal body in this country, i.e. when you get to the level of judicial review, they are the final appellate body in this country. And they also have jurisdiction relating to matters in terms of interpretation, enforcement of the Constitution. And that is why it is very, very important that everybody understands any creature of the Constitution, i.e. whether you are Parliament, whether you are the President, whether you are the EC, as long as you are a creature of the Constitution, you are subject to its enforcement and interpretation. And the person who must do that is the Supreme Court. And that is why, in actual fact, we have the separation of powers in terms of the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. But in the true meaning of the word, because the Constitution is more powerful than even an act of Parliament or a CI or any other law of the land for that matter, that's, for example, a constitutional instrument. What we therefore say is that the judges are the most powerful. But the judges are not necessarily the most powerful because they are also subject to 296, Article 296 and Article 132 of the Constitution. And it's Article 132 that gives them the powers in terms of how they are in charge of the Constitution. And then 296 deals with how they should even exercise discretionary powers. So, in a nutshell, that is what their role is about.
Okay, let me bring in Doctor. Doctor, we heard things like audi alteram partem, which has got to do with natural justice and all of that. Can you throw more light on what was its role? Did it even play any important role in deciding this case?
Yes, I think it did. When you look at the rule of natural justice, it has now been constitutionalized. If you look at Article 296, as my brother rightly said, it has been constitutionalized to the effect that if there's an issue and it goes to court and you fail to give somebody the opportunity to defend himself or to even make a statement or to even comment or to exercise one right or the other, the judges can hold that one against you. So in this particular instance, it has a role to play in that, because the Electoral Commission failed to give the political parties or the aspirant the opportunity to correct the errors, as it were. The court was of the view that they had been denied that particular right, and it played a significant role in weighing the case in their favor. But most importantly, as my brother said, it has brought finality to the issue, and the Supreme Court is the apex court of the land, so it has set a precedent. And the other important thing they did was that they went outside what was before them to say to you that, well, all cases at the high court have been installed, let's move on in confidence. And I think it's very important. So that rule has been constitutionalized. Article 296 constitutionalized it, and it played a significant role in this particular case.
Right. Then I'll come to you, Lloyd. But okay.
In fact, just before Ebrard comes into that, he mentioned something which was very important in terms of the audi alteram partem rule, which, in fact, now the Latin is.
What does that mean to the ordinary man?
It simply means the right to a fair hearing. The rules of natural justice comes under two umbrellas. The first thing is to do with bias, i.e., there should be no bias against you, which is also, again, the Latin which we are trying to avoid. And then we also have the rule in terms of a fair hearing. So just as he rightly said, the issue was, were they given a fair hearing under Regulations 9? And the issue was, High Court said no. But now all of this has come together under just the duty to act fairly. So these days, the rules of natural justice in itself, if you look at the latest cases that deal with it, the issue is there's a duty by the EC to act fairly. Now, a lot of people talk about one thing which is very confusing, that is the independence of the judiciary in the context of the Constitution. Now, if you look at, for example, some of the guiding principles of the recent Handbook on Electoral Management Design, this is the international standard of practice that the electoral commissions or commissioners practice across the world. So it's like the Bible of the EC rules. These are the criteria. Independence, so it's one of them. But the independence must go with impartiality, it must go with integrity, it must go with transparency. In fact, if you look at the reason why the EC usually take into court, one of them is to do with transparency. My brother rightly said about dotting the I's and crossing the T's, which should not be used to look at the standard, because even they, the EC themselves, they have not dotted the I's and crossed the T's in some areas where they were given the benefit of the doubt with words like transpositional error, clerical error, and many other errors which they were allowed to use. There's also efficiency, professionalism, service-mindedness, public interest. So the thing must be done for public interest. So sometimes when people talk about only the independents, they are not helping the EC, who actually helped themselves by going to the Supreme Court to get finality on the matter so that it could all rest and then we move on.
I think any misstep by the Electoral Commission could put this country on the precipice of full-blown instability. And therefore, we have shy of a month to go to the polls. And the EC should continue to prove to the Ghanaian people that it will only serve as an independent umpire, an impartial one, that will superintend over this election. Members of the opposition have raised concerns. Those concerns need to be looked at critically, so that whatever needs to be clarified will be clarified before the day. On Monday, it is most likely there will be a ruling on whether the results of the early voting should be made public. That is also of utmost importance. A credible, free and fair election will give birth to a credible result that will be acceptable to all. So I urge the Electoral Commission, nobody wants to demonize the EC. Everybody appreciates the fact that a woman has been given the opportunity to take up such a daunting task. But we need her to come around so that an impression is not created that she's disconnected from the reality on the ground. So we go to the polls. We've done this times without number, and therefore it's not novel that Ghana should have an EC that is flexible, an EC that has a listening ear. I've heard reports from certain national executives of some parties in opposition that they aren't given a fair hearing. There are times they call EC officials on the phone and they don't give them the needed attention. So this is not a two-way, two-horse race between only the MPP and the NDC. In the spirit of diversity, in the spirit of multi-party democracy, we should listen as much to the NDC and the MPP as we do to the PNC and the PPP.
And also to the NDP.
And all other political parties.
Okay, but Lloyd, to what extent do you think this ruling has helped or ensured the prevalence of equity, fairness, justice, as far as our electoral process is concerned?
Oh yes, to a large extent, it has brought much sanity into the electoral system. But what I will also say is that the political parties must try as much as possible to give the EC a little bit of free hand to do its work. If they begin to challenge everything on this, on the way of the EC, we will be continuing to have these problems. Every little thing, we've done this before, and why this time around, every step that the EC takes, there's a challenge.
Wouldn't you say this election is a critical election, especially for the opposition NPP?
All elections have been very critical. All elections. This is not different from previous ones. From 92 to date, they've all been critical. Yes, one wants to, retain seat. Others want to, take over the seat. Yeah. That is the basic thing. But if every step there's a question mark, every step there's a question mark, it stalls the program. Just look at the issue of a new register. We did all whatever we did, and look at where it has brought us. If we have taken time and sorted ourselves out from March, by now I think there would have been sanity. No one would have gone to court. Everything would have been free and fair. There won't be this hula baloo. 8 court cases, 9 court cases. Political parties should also at least respect the views of the EC, so that at least we can all have a peaceful sound election. It is the political parties who will put spark the fire. It is not the EC. For me, it is not the EC. It's the political parties. Oh yes, because see how they carry themselves, what they say. These are the things. If the 12 political parties were, as it were, locked out of the ballot, and they had not gone to court, we would have gone far. But they went to court because they felt.
But the EC also went ahead to the Supreme Court.
Yes, I agree. But
hiring time and all.
Yes,
that.
I agree to all those things. But the political parties must give the EC a breathing space to do its work. That is why.
Everyone wants to come in. Let me bring you down.
Yes, I respectfully disagree with my colleague, because you see the rules of the game must be respected, and people go to court because they are dissatisfied. And you cannot take away the right of people to challenge the decisions of the EC in court. These elections are to be regulated by CI. Both parties, the political parties and the commission, understands it. let us all agree on the way we are proceeding. Interpret it in such a way that people would go along with your interpretation. When they don't understand anything, they come to you, give them the audience. If you fail to give them or grant them the audience, they are compelled to go to court. I think they are giving the EC enough space. But the EC must also know that they are dealing with people, they are dealing with regulation, they are dealing with laws. Their interpretation of the laws must be in sync with the understanding of the regulations by the political parties. And that is why the IPAC is a very good clearing forum for all of these things. So that if it is cleared at the IPAC level, nobody can come out to challenge it. But the problem I've seen with the IPAC meetings is that they go for the IPAC meetings. The decisions of the IPAC meetings are not published. They are not made known to the public. So the political parties comes out and they say that we have agreed on this at IPAC. You see the EC also saying something else. So if they can properly document minutes or decisions at IPAC, publish it in a widely read media so that all of us would know, it will introduce some level of consistency. But I think there are always interpretational issues between the political parties and the EC. But now, with the Supreme Court ruling, I'm very positive that the EC is gradually getting back on track, and they are restoring their credibility challenges they had in the previous past. And going forward, if they go along the way they are going now, doing broad-based consultation, touching base with the political parties at every stage, making sure that they are in sync with the EC by way of interpretation of the CI 94, I'm very positive that we're going to have a very good election.
I think the reason various stakeholders are striking discordant tunes, even though they sit around the negotiation table at IPAC, is the sheer preponderance of mistrust. Let's not pretend. All the parties in opposition do not trust the Electoral Commissioner.
Why?
Because
Why?
Because of the appointment of the EC. Everybody knows how an Electoral Commissioner is appointed. I took part in a conference here in Accra, during which Electoral Commissioners from across Africa took part. And the Electoral Commission was there. Those were the early days when she had been given the mandate. And the challenges we face here are the same challenges South Sudan, for example, faces. Because Riek Machar would choose, no, not Riek Machar, the guy on top would be the one to choose who becomes the Electoral Commissioner. And the MPP has had cause, and justifiably so, to question some of the decisions of the Electoral Commissioner. And during the time of the Kufuor regime too, I believe parties in opposition, especially the NDC, also had cause to complain. If people will sit at IPAC and come out to give us different narratives, why does IPAC not allow media houses to embed their reporters in the meetings? The meetings should be plenary. There's nothing secretive about an IPAC meeting. GBC should have a reporter there. So at the end of the day, if a party in opposition says we didn't agree on A, we agreed on B, and EC disproves that, then the media people will be able to tell us what really went down. But you can't hold meetings in camera, and Party A says this was what we agreed on. Party B says this was what we agreed on. It doesn't, give us, the electorate, the needed confidence in everybody. So an NDC eye and ear, whatever the NPP says, that tarnishes the image of the Electoral Commission, is biased. And to the NPP follower too, the same thing happens. So therefore, I've called for two things. We may be able to achieve one, but we can't achieve the other. Every coalition center should have a CCTV camera installed. This is basic.
Can it be done in Ghana?
It should be done.
We should be able to do that.
Considering how high the stakes are this time round, I don't think invested in our stability.
275.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too expensive. So that people will know in real time what is happening at the coalition centers. These are basic, and I believe as a country, if we really have this the stability and long-term peace of Ghana at heart, these are some of the decisions we need to take. And IPAC should have journalists embedded in all of its meetings so that you can give us an independent reportage of what goes on.
Do you share in that opinion?
Yes, we're all trying to do what is best for Ghana. And I think that the only way we can achieve that is to work with the EC. Like my brother Lloyd also said, we have to work with them and work together. However, the issue is that they must also work with us. They must work with the political parties. It is not just the MPP that disagrees with the Electoral Commission or for the sake of it. As was very clear this time, other parties went to court, there was no MPP. They were Ghanaians who were unhappy about a decision that the EC made. And if you look at the High Court and Supreme Court judgment, it looks like the courts agreed with them that the EC was a bit high-handed in terms of how they were handled. I know we'll be looking at some of the details soon, so I won't jump the gun. But you see, when you have the MPP taking the EC to court before, there's no problem. It's rule of law. The other parties did the same recently, rule of law. The NDC also took the EC to court in 2004. I don't know if you remember that. That there's no problem. It shouldn't be made to look as if you take the EC to court, it's because you want to cause trouble. I think the EC also took the matter to the Supreme Court, as I've just lauded them, because they wanted clarity. And the only person who can clarify the matter for Ghanaians is the court. The high courts have been set up by the Chief Justice to look at the issue. Then, of course, if there's a misunderstanding, it goes finally to the Supreme Court. So that in itself would help. Let us look at even the Peace Council, for example. They have recently advised the EC that they should try and make sure they don't seem to be putting impediments in the way of political parties, so that this issue of forms being filled rightly or wrongly or partially should not become an albatross on this issue. And I'm sure the Peace Council were saying it in the right terms.
Yes,
they were not saying it to antagonize anybody. It was like advice from parents.
Yeah.
Furthermore, recently, even the Supreme Court had cause to tell the EC that, look, we ask you to do this, you won't do it. We want this, it's not done. We won't allow you to plunge this country into chaos and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean the Supreme Court wants chaos. They are just admonishing them, which they are entitled to.
Yes.
To tell them that, look, Supreme Court, EC, we want you to do this work in a certain way. The issue is NHI's registration. We, the Supreme Court, say it is unacceptable. Go and deal with it. Why are you saying you don't understand it? If you didn't understand it, why did you come to us? These are things that if the EC themselves did, and I'm happy they did it this time, that's why I've praised them. If they had taken it to the court and said, oh, the NHIS, my lords, we are not too clear as to the way forward. In the interest of the public, and that is our role, what did you actually mean? Or how should we do this? Then the matter is dealt with quickly. But instead we hear of just independence. That in itself is not going to work or cut it. So I think that the EC itself must listen to the Supreme Court. They must listen to the Peace Council. They must listen to all political parties, including even the more parties, the parties with more votes like the NPP or the NDC. They must listen to all the rest and then come up with decisions that will seem acceptable and palatable, that would not go to court and then they would end up losing because it looks as if consensus was not built on the matter at the primary stage of even IPAC.
Okay, Doc, but having said that, listening to everybody, tying in what Lloyd said concerning the political parties giving the EC the leeway and not being suspicious and all of that, is that to suggest that we need not interfere in the operations of the EC or a state institution that has been mandated by law to operate on our behalf?
Well, to some extent, yes, but no. The interference, you are not supposed to interfere in the operational processes because their independence is guaranteed by the law that establishes them. But that is not to say that if they are acting contrary to the provisions in the regulations, you cannot, which affects your rights, you cannot take them on. So we should distinguish between direct interference and then trampling on one's rights according to the regulations. So yes, we are not supposed to interfere. No institution is supposed to interfere in the activities of the Electoral Commission. However, if the Electoral Commission undertakes an act that affects your right, that does not prevent you from taking them on or asking for clarity. We should know that we have a commission, and again, for the purpose of this program and in consistence with the law, let us be very clear that the commissioner or the chairperson of the commission just represents or resonates or makes statements that has been approved, as it were, by the commission. So there is an element of collective responsibility there. So then if you want to interfere, you are interfering in the acts and omissions of the commission and not that of the commissioner. So that in response to your answer, your question, yes, we can interfere. No, we cannot interfere. But we can only interfere if it affects us as individuals or political parties within the meaning of CI 94.
Do you think we can interfere to some extent?
No,
as the state institution is concerned?
we should not interfere by telling them what they should do.
Yeah, that I agree.
We should not interfere by telling them that you have to do this and that. But we can complain that, oh, I'm not happy with the processes. So can you do it better? With that, yes, fine. Just this, the balloting of the, positions for the presidency. There was even a controversy. Why should that be? I mean, the EC has its method of doing it, and then you come up to say that, okay, let us do it this way. I mean, I find it very odd, but fortunately, the EC stood on its ground and then did it how, he thinks he has been doing it all the time. I'm not saying that you shouldn't improve. Yes, there's always room for improvement, but one shouldn't insist that, oh, because of this and this issue, let us do this, and you insist on that. For me, I don't think, it's good enough. We should give the EC chance to operate and operate peacefully. If we continue to interfere and at every step we try to, hijack it, we're going to have problems. The IPAC, I'm told, is an advisory body. They can decide to discard ICAD, IPAC. Yes, they can, because it has no legal basis. But they have agreed in principle to allow it to work. So it doesn't mean that it should take over the responsibility and duties of we've had elections. There was nothing like iPad. So please let us have a little bit of sanity in the political space that we are enjoying now. The political parties should be a little bit cautious. I mean, they should relax. This is not an end to the world or do or die affair. More elections will come. Predictions will be made. It will be overturned by the various people. So for me, I think the EC should be given that breathing space. We should not continue to stand on their neck and demand certain things. If not this, I think we've passed that stage.
Everybody.
I think
Interference or no interference?
When you go to Caribbean countries, I would blame it on the level of illiteracy there is in sub-Saharan Africa. Elections are like a flash in the pan. You actually do not feel that, for example, Switzerland is going to the polls. And in no time, people come to terms with whatever change or maintenance of the status quo there is at the end of an election. So moving forward, I would call on political parties to take it easy. I have said on various platforms that if our constitution allowed, I would call for Konadu and Nasigri Mahama sharing the presidency for once. But it's quite unfortunate we can only have one commander-in-chief. So they are both very solid materials, and I believe they have a lot of integrity, but they are mutually exclusive. It's an either-or option we have as a country. So let's wish the NPP well. We also wish the NDC, the NDP, the PPP, PNC. But I would call for every political party to create some room for potential disappointment. Whether the EC is being belligerent or whether political parties are nagging, and all, at the end of the day, fundamentally, it's a contest and we can have only one winner. But if every party tells its faithful and its followers that this is going to be a cool chop for us, quote and unquote, with that psyche, it becomes very difficult to convince people, in case the election is free, fair, and transparent, that they should wake up and smell the coffee. They've lost and they will have to wait for the next 4 years. So Michael Quayle, Jordan, and others are leading members of political parties. So let's always create room, some room for potential disappointment. It is in the interest of every party that it wins. and all the saber rattling has to go on. You have to give people the opportunity to have the verve and gusto that you are winning. But I believe we need to be psyching up ordinary people who work at Abusokai, for example, people who sit under the tree and discuss Ghana's politics. That is a contest, and we can have only one winner or one president. So let's do our best to do that. The entrenched positions we've taken, that is a win for us or nothing else. For either the NPP or the NDC, does not help. It's not healthy, and I believe it's one of the reasons time and again we've had cause to punch holes in the operations of the Electoral Commission.
A call on you, Mike.
Yes.
Have you psyched the people out to manage any unforeseen occurrences, be whether you lose or not?
Yes, I think it is very good advice generally, because when you go into a contest and you lose, you lost. So you have to take it as a man, or take it fair and square.
As a woman,
And the women, they are able to even take harder
More
pains,
shots.
but that's the saying, so it's generic. Women, they have things like giving birth and so on, which is a bit more painful than whatever men experience. So we know you are even more capable of dealing with things like that, but it's just the terminology. So deal with the issue in that context, and there's no point to be crying over spilt milk. I agree with him on that. But the issue is that you are going into a context, and this context is that it has rules and regulations. We just talked here about bias and fair hearing. Bias and fair hearing has now been put together as a duty to act fairly. Now, the EC cannot be acting fairly if, for example, we are all getting voters lists, and two other political parties have their full voters lists. They have the complement of proxy list, absenteeism list, and transfer list. But the MPP doesn't have the proxy list, the transfer list, and the absenteeism list. Now, you see that then there will be a problem, because we will start to say that, one, we have already got wind of the fact that we got 8 people for proxy. It was even printed in the national newspapers in a certain district. Now we hear it's 32, and we don't understand why. So we want our list to verify. You haven't given us our list. When we asked at the IPAC meeting, you told us that other people have been allowed to come and do proxy, but they are abroad. And we say no. If you look at the CR 94, which I have here, for example, and you look at Article 25, because let us look at this more in legal context today. Article 25 here, okay, it talks about the applicant shall complete a proxy form. That is, if you look at 25.2, the applicant, not anybody who is in UK sending somebody to come and take on his behalf. Anybody who is in UK who can't take a plane here, maybe you are a special government official, you register overseas voting list. So as soon as that happens, there's a problem. And so already there's a problem looming on proxy list as we sit here, because the list that was completed and signed by all the political parties, the list has increased. And now we are hearing
How
that.
do you know that for a fact?
Oh, because we've spoken to some of the district officers, but you see, we have not been given an official list. So we want to be responsible citizens and wait that when we have, otherwise we can go and get one from the CPP. But I think that let us now look in context of the advice that Ibad was given. Let us help the EC, and let them also help us. And we can only help each other by the official list that the EC has given. If we go and take CPP's own and they say that one is not what we gave you, so there's no authenticity, what do you do? Like happened with the Togo register. There was no authenticity eventually because the EC could not get a copy from Togo. We left it. My issue is that you cannot now give everybody their list, and then as soon as we had a press conference that evening, they brought us the 31 corrupted files after 9 days. And then yet they still haven't given us the proxy list and others. We are not going to be happy. I'll tell you one thing for sure. The MPP is a party of very responsible elders. In fact, the people like Nana Dankwa Kufuado and so on, as soon as people start wanting to do aluta, anger, they are always telling you, you relax. Rule of law, rule of law. And to be honest, it is annoying those who are on the grassroots. They feel as if you are too book long. But if we don't use book, what else can we use? We have to use book in this country. So we are also appealing to you, the neutral citizens on this panel, that when you're also talking to the EC, let us use the context of our theme for today, the duty to act fairly. Otherwise, if somebody is given a list, why should Director of Elections in CPP, James Kwabena Bonfe, have his full list, and Director of Elections in MPP has not got his full list, Martin Kosa, AJ Kosa? It's not fair. Now, if we are looking at this case, I want us to come back to the issues here. You know, the ruling was very interesting because the Supreme Court realized that the main problem in this whole case was not to do with the issue of this person signed here, that person signed here, that person. Those are all what we call criminal accusatories, i.e., once a person has not been what we call in criminal law autrefois convict or autrefois acquit, the person has not been convicted or acquitted, there's no issue of criminality. You can suspect. And that's why even a policeman, he can suspect you, he can charge you, but the court will determine. So the EC can only charge you, but the court will determine the criminality thereof. Now, I don't know about you, Mr. Lloyd, but if you like, go to the bank today, sign your same signature 4 days in a row, there'll be variations. In fact, I've been to the bank sometimes where they tell me that, oh, my signature doesn't match what is on the system. And so they may even ask me other questions like my date of birth, other personal things to verify if I am the same person. So those issues existed, but the issue was nomination period. You are being strict at the end of a certain day. But after the certain day, there was a time and a proviso for when the money was collected. The nomination period under law includes when the money is paid. So they are saying that all these mistakes you saw, you could have notified us to apply, that is the regulation 9.2 here, which says, that is, the returning officer shall give the candidate an opportunity to make amendments or any alteration necessary within the stipulated nomination period. So, you see, even the CI 94, which is the creator of the EC, it realized that there can be alterations and amendments which should be allowed within the nomination period. The nomination period now is it that 30th September or is it up to when the money was paid? Because until the money is paid, it's still nomination period. When you saw the mistakes, did you afford them the opportunity to do it? No. If not, why not? If not, then the court judgment came, and that was the first point in the ruling, which said the applicant must extend the nomination period from today, Monday, 7th November, to Tuesday, 8th November. The court realized that this whole confusion that's going on is just nomination period in conjunction with Regulation 9. So if I extend the nomination period, it allows everybody who is affected in this way to let the EC look at it. Again, the court didn't tell it what to do. And then those that it can afford corrections, it should afford. And that is why now you see that they've just allowed 3 more. Because some of them, it was just a matter of alterations. Some of them was a matter of more than that, let me just say. So they have been denied. So you see that in the long run, the Supreme Court, in conjunction with the High Court, in conjunction with the CI, in conjunction with, I dare say, if you look at PNDC Law 284, in conjunction with the Constitution, has solved the problem. So let us have that kind of faith in our institutions. The Supreme Court did a fantastic job. The EC also did a good job by going to the Supreme Court for this matter to be finalized. And that is the kind of thing we want to see. But believe you me, this issue could have been solved in the first place by just a consensus meeting applying Regulation 9 to make sure that the corrections were altered and amended.
Okay, that header has been
I
crossed.
think Michael Kwesi Jr. has made some salient points, but I want to ask,
Yes.
apart from IPAC bringing together all the stakeholders, isn't there any goodwill session where the NPP and the NDC of their own volition decided that they are meeting to thrash out issues, while you even leave the EC out? Can't the parties start talking to each other so that
Let me just answer this very quickly. In fact, let me say that Mr. Siedunkitia, for example, on some of the occasions where we have complained about certain things, he has backed us and said, look, Isi, you must be more diligent. You must be more so and so. Because how would the NPP feel if they don't get this? We would have been very angry.
Yes,
and so on. So, in fact, a lot of people don't know this. But generally, NPP, NDC, if you see myself and Mr. Siedunkitia after court cases, the way we joke, the way we chat, Sir John and Mr. Siedunkitia, or myself and Alea Sebufia, we actually even worked together. Let me just give you one quick story, which is also good for your viewers. There was a Ghanaian in Libya who had been arrested for distributing tracts, Bible tracts. And you know that's against the law there, to a certain extent. And when they catch you, they behead you. One Ghanaian had been beheaded the week before. And I'm sure you know this as a foreign expert. And this person's head was about to be beheaded. A journalist called from Libya and gave me the story. I went to Alex Sebufia, who at that time was the deputy chief of staff. And we sat down, worked on it. We spoke to, at the time, Vice President John Mahama, who was going to Libya. He went, he made an appeal, and the man was given a pardon and sent to Ghana.
So that is how far your relations...
Yes, NPP with NDC work together to save the Ghanaians' lives. We do, but let me tell you, the media is always interested in the fight sometimes. They don't look at the camaraderie.
Who told you
they
that?
don't. No, I'm telling you.
That's our platform.
No, not well. That's why you can see that this platform, we are dealing with issues.
Yeah.
And I've also made sure that I wear a hat that does not speak to the detriment of somebody else, because they don't have a spokesperson here. Let's look at the issues and then give examples that are general. So there's a lot of communication and camaraderie between the parties. It's just that, as I said, sometimes the media also feeds on the antagonism that in a way creates a story, because we all know bad news sells. But we take it on board, and believe you me, I am of the conviction that the new politician in Ghana is working at building bridges rather than creating, rather than destroying them.
Okay, Doctor. But you know, now the Supreme Court's verdict has to some extent brought joy to all of us. But after the verdict, how did you foresee issues pan out when all of a sudden new errors were generated and seen and it escalated and all of that? How did you foresee even before the resolution?
Before the resolution, I looked at the posture of the Electoral Commission, and they had come out to indicate that they were going to comply in total, as it were, with any ruling of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made its ruling, and the next day we heard that they found new errors and all of that. People started talking about it, and I'm sure they heeded to that advice, and they withdrew almost everything and allowed them to correct the ones that were identified before they went to court. But let me say that I will still locate it within 296, Article 296 of our Constitution, 296C to be precise, that the Electoral Commission must be very careful in the things that they do, because the Constitution is clear that whatever they do, they must not be seen to be capricious, they must not be seen to be biased, they must not be seen to have personal dislikes against any of the contestant parties. If they are able to live by these tenets under Article 296 of the Constitution, they will always, people would always be happy with them. I believe that after the Supreme Court ruling, it has brought finality, and now the Electoral Commission is gradually getting back on track. I would advise them to continue to be on track like that. We shouldn't see a lot of legal brushes along the line. But my other difficulty with the Electoral Commission is that they don't have an internal legal department. And when you are in this particular business, whether you like it or not, in most cases you go to court, and you cannot continue to rely on the retainer lawyer, the mediation and arbitration and all of that, and even internal legal advice. If you have an internal legal team, they are part of your processes, so they would understand some of the issues, and they can give you sound legal advice internally, the legal implication of some of your actions before you even come public. But if you don't have them in, and you have your retainer lawyers who come in only when there are issues, you are going to have challenges. So as far as practicable, they should work towards achieving that. And I'm sure once we do that, we'll be able to make a significant headway in deepening our democracy in this country.
Lloyd.
Yeah, I think, I was shocked to hear that they did not have internal legal, team. And for me, I find it very weird, because such an institution, it is not a small institution, sitting in the corner. You have elections that you have been doing almost, district council, district assembly, elections and other elections. So for me, I think it is high time that the EC take, on board to have, a strong and internal, legal team, so that at least if these ugly issues begin to, come up, they'll be able to deal with it. Yes, they can have the external team, but we should be able to handle the fire, within first, before you call the 119 or 112, to come into to assist. And I think it's a very serious issue.
I always want to talk to the people on the streets. This is an easy contest, and the NPP, the NDC, the NDP, and everybody has duly trained their polling agents. Be vigilant enough, and I believe it is very important that we get an election that is credible, so that at the end of the day we continue to consolidate the democratic gains we've made. And be under no illusion, my lady, that the international community has an interest in this. For the first time, I've seen the AU deploy its permanent observer mission ahead of schedule. So that means people are watching this space. And we can't afford to mar the reputation we've carved out for ourselves in the eyes of the international community. So party leaders will continue to base their rhetoric on issues. Just you're a marketer. Market your manifesto to us. If it makes sense, we vote for you. But if anybody thinks that they can have a walk in the park by massaging figures or rigging the election, I don't think the international community will agree. There is an ambassador, and I have worked with the diplomatic corps for quite some time, who has taken keen interest, and he believes we need to continue to sharpen the rough edges of this electoral process, because they are interested. Donor nations are interested in the outcome of this election. So not only the political parties, all of us have a stake in this. I keep telling people, if you live in affluence and there is no peace of mind, you will have food, but you will be on your feet eating. It's better than it is better to soak gari and then drink gari in the comfort of your house where there is peace and serenity and tranquility, and than be in any form of instability. Our children are not ready to be orphaned, and our women are not ready to be widowed. And therefore, love party leaders, love and cherish them, adore them, but none of them is worth dying for.
Right. It is still the Reporters Roundtable. We'll come back to the second round. Lloyd, you have your take. This program is proudly supported by Health West Ghana. Find them near Adringano Islamic University. My dress is provided by Ashrifia, where near Adentan Goil Filling Station. Yes, I rock Ashrifia. We are also proudly supported by the Liberty American School. It is a Christian international school. So if you're looking for that school that will train your child so that that person can have the cutting edge both abroad and in Ghana, then find the Liberty American School at 43 Kinshasa Avenue in East Legon. And be reminded that this program is repeated on Sundays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we will also have some insets. We'll play it right after the break when we come back.
If you want to understand what journalism is all about, watch Reporters Roundtable, because here we criticize ourselves, we learn from one another, and try to put our profession on track.
It is still the Reporters Roundtable on your news channel GBC24. Let me remind you that you can send in your text messages on 02444754422. I have some messages here already, and let me read them out to you. This one says, kindly suggest to internal minister to postpone 2nd December holiday to 7th December, the voting day. Okay. Whether we like it or not, 7th December will be holiday for some workers. They will use voting as an excuse. This one is from Ejakwesi in Kumasi. This one also says, if there is no sinister motive, the candidates must be allowed to correct their mistakes. The EC has confirmed her incompetence because she should have been discovered earlier that Ndoum will win the case. Okay, you didn't add your name. Right. That is what that is a video that we just saw, bringing that victory to all of us. How do we hope to sustain our democracy, especially where parochial interests are heightened? Albert, let me start with you.
I think I want to see bipartisan and multi-partisan consensus on some of the appointments we make. People have had cause to ask me whether the Ghana Police Service will be neutral on polling day, so that if someone is seen as a member of one of these paramilitary groups and comes from a certain party, the person there will be a scorched earth, policy to deal with the person. Your IGP is a political appointee. It's an employee of the president who has been taken to the Flagstaff House on the ticket of a certain party. The BNI boss is an appointee. The National Security Coordinator is also an appointee. So moving forward, elections border on security. And if a person is able to whisk away a ballot box, it depends upon the posture of the security agent that has been deployed there. So moving forward, I believe if you really want to consolidate the gains we've made in terms of touting ourselves as a bastion of democracy in the sub-region, we need to take away this winner takes all syndrome. And the NDC has everything to lose if Konadu comes to power on December 7th. The MPP will have everything to lose if the status quo is maintained from January. This is Ghana. It's a country that will bequeath to posterity. And I believe moving forward, it wouldn't hurt to cross carpets and enlist expertise coming from the other side of the political divide. So people are putting in a lot of man hours, people are putting in a lot of toil and sweat, with the view that as soon as we come, if you're a cocoa board head, we are clearing you off the scene. Whatever position you have, heading an MMDA, we are going to sack you. So with this impression, the IGP loses his job. The following day, a new president is sworn in. So you don't build a nation on the basis or on such grounds of division and mistrust. So I would want to see bipartisan and multi-partisan consensus in some of the things we do. And if there can even be compensation money for flag bearers that lose elections and party heads, I believe it will help to cushion and ease people out of power and also allow people to accept their fate in case they do not win the election. Each of the opposition political parties will spend in the upwards of 1 million Ghana cedis, for example, or even more, to run the campaigns and do all of these things. So will I be taking home nothing in case the Ghanaian electorate do not vote for me? So there is a lot the losing party loses, so to speak, that it becomes very difficult to accept your fate. So I want to see a Ghana where there is a lot of political flexibility. The NPP should be comfortable helping the nation go forward, regardless of who is sitting at the Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House. Members of the PPP, the PNC, the NDC should be comfortable. But every minister is scared now. Every deputy minister is scared. Every DC, every MC, everybody, the whole country is now apprehensive, because as soon as there is a regime change, people's worlds come crashing down. So to have a solidly democratic country moving forward, we need to allow everybody to be a part of the developmental agenda, so that we do not exclude certain people. Exclusion is the main cause of the problem we have now. There is no inclusiveness. In the past 8 years, very shrewd minds within the NPP have been put on the margins. There's nothing they can do to move this country forward. Look at the energy crisis. Whatever they say on radio is not taken, because nobody wants to credit a party in opposition for doing the right things. So the acrimony, the political acrimony, has to end, and the animosity should also end, so that we want to see a new generation of leaders, a new generation of political leaders that are ready to share experience, are ready to share expertise for the larger good of this country. That is the only way we can consolidate the democratic gains we've made in the past few decades.
Right, Doc. Now the statement of poll is out. Would you say it's now time to bind the wounds of division and forge ahead?
Definitely, yes. It's time to bind the wounds and then forge ahead in confidence and making sure that we're going to have a very good and successful election. But a lot depends on the sitting government, because they have a role to play in making sure that they maintain good internal security, they play their role as neutral as they ought to do, and then they operate within the Presidential Transitional Act, which requires the president to make sure that they put in place all assets, they put in place transitional arrangements and everything that would ensure a smooth transition. I may also want to say that in going forward to deepen our democracy, we should, as a country, find a way of taking off the tag from the opposition, calling them opposition. I think we should call them alternative governments, because if you call them opposition, you give them the opportunity to oppose almost everything. And again, when you go to parliament, this situation where majority have their way and then the minority can have their say must be discontinued. If we can have a way of making sure that in parliament we look at bills and issues in an objective manner, rather than looking at the majority carries the vote, it will really help. And then breaking the boundaries of ensuring having winner takes all. We can start by directly electing district chief executive. If we start by electing DCEs, gradually we'll be able to reduce the powers of the president when it comes to appointing people to key sensitive positions. Ibrahim mentioned it, that you have an IGP that is appointed by the president and other key sensitive positions.
It's amazing you're mentioning the local government as a solution to what Mr. Ibad said, right, because I'd actually just written a decentralization.
Yes,
without that.
Yes, because if you allow DCEs to be elected, what is then going to happen is that the opposition stronghold would have their members elected as DCEs. When you go to the current government stronghold, they'll have their members elected as DCEs. And invariably, you will lose, but you will not lose everything. You have some stakes at the local government level to be able to operationalize some of the policies that you were not given the opportunity to implement at the national level. Gradually, it diffuses the tension and it gives the citizens the opportunity to even compare you in opposition at the local government level and the ruling government in government at the national level. It helps you to make all these choices. If we are able to do that as a country, I'm very positive that gradually we'll be improving now in our democratic dispensation.
Right.
Yeah, I think we haven't taken local government in this country very serious. We always play lip service to these institutions. But if we take local government very seriously, most of these things will not be happening. Then again, I think the tenure of office of key office holders like the EC, IGP, CDS, Public Service Commission, they don't have tenure of office. Is it a 5 year, 10 years, what? And I'm not worried about how they are appointed, but do they have a tenure? If they have a tenure of office, then for me, I think it's something that we can easily, because at the end of the day, if the EC is elected by or appointed by a government, he or she will be there for about 5, 10, 15, 20 years, let's assume. He or she will see different governments, and no one can touch him or her. But if you can easily be kicked out, whether it's the IGP, whether it's the is the CDS. These are the things that create problems. So for me, I think we should look at the tenure of office of certain key institutions so that we make their positions a little bit fixed. The governor for the Bank of Ghana, I think, has about 8 years or so. It is fixed. It is there. The EC has it. Hers is about what years?
Eternal.
Till
retirement, which is something that's come up. People are saying we should do that maybe 7 years.
Then how can we gather that experience? That continuity. You see. So for me, if we look at these things, winner takes all. Obviously, I mean, you go to the advanced countries, is the prime minister or the or the president that appoints the ministers. Obviously, I will not appoint an opposition into my cabinet. No, I won't do that. Why do I have to do that?
The person is a technocrat, an expert in the area.
No. Probably he or she might be, somewhere, maybe as a EC or CDS or whatever, but not as my cabinet minister. No, I won't do that for anything. So I understand that game. I mean, then the issue of districts, elections. I think we must also take that thing. We should be allowed to elect our DCEs. The NPP promised election of DCE, and they never delivered. Now they are talking about it. Are they sure this time round, should they, quote unquote, win? Are they going to allow us to elect our own DCs?
The NDC also promised in 2008.
You see, so they, the politicians themselves do not, walk the talk.
They say 9 states holding them accountable to.
Yes, probably we are not holding them accountable, especially the media. We are not holding our ministers and flag, our presidents accountable. But if we put that needed fire, under them, some of these things, can be solved. So I think let us start, as Doc said, let us start with the, districts, elections. And if we are able to do that, it will sip through the system, and then we'll be able to get, and then have fixed appointments for certain key, positions in this country. The IGP, so that when he's there, he knows that he can do his or her work without fear or favor. The EC can do it, the Governor Bank of Ghana can do it, the Public Service Commission can do it. We all do our work, as it is, because we are not worried about who appoints it or who will disappoint us. These are some of the things that I think we should.
Sustenance of Ghana's democracy. Mike.
Yes, let me start in the context of, a few things. Today I'm not going to do any defense of any political party. Today I'm trying to wear a different hat for the sake of the viewers. So I won't even look into the political answers for anything. But moving on from that, my brother Lloyd said, for example, my older brother Lloyd said he would not appoint any opposition in his cabinet and so on and so forth. I think we are of that thinking because we haven't seen it done or done properly. I remember that President Barack Obama, his Minister of Defense, Gates, was from the Republican Party. And yet, can you imagine a party or a president in government in Ghana that your Minister of Defense, the one in charge of Bema Camp, is from the opposition? So we need to transcend this. The advice that is being given from this side of the table is very holy. It's advice that if we are able to implement honestly, is going to help us a lot. The issue of decentralization was raised, so I want to deal with that quickly before we look at the police and that. In fact, without solving decentralization, the country is going nowhere. In fact, I just wrote a paper 2 days ago, which I've sent to the graphic for publication, and I just want to read a very little excerpt from it, which deals with that. And then, since there's a local government expert here, he can even advise me accordingly. Now, I say here, when the concept of decentralization was introduced in 1988. The district assemblies were seen as agents of development at the local level. Today, we all know that there is no development being facilitated in the districts. They sit down and wait for common fund from the center. Even chalk is supplied by the central government. Straight to the point that he was giving us. If we have a situation where everybody feels that if I'm part of the central government, there's a Ministry of Local Government, but they are virtually central government. They don't deal with local. They just procure the things and send it. In fact, sometimes by the time the common fund goes down to the district, the deductions that have been made by the head leaves pittance, to say the least. So I think that if we can deal with that issue where every district is given a certain autonomy, a certain budget, a certain space to operate, we'll see also that the concentration of power will not be. Remember that our constitution was under a military rule, which was transcending slowly. The transition was slow. And so there was still that need not to even give a vice president enough power, but to put everything in the bosom or in the lap of the president. We need to find a way with consensus building to deal with this issue. Now it came to the issue of the police and neutrality. I can say on authority that in 2012, because I was part of the opposition, the police did something. This time, I'm not part of the regional team, so I don't know. They did something called Bridging the Peace. It was a whole thing which was started by, I think, Paul Tewiakwe, that's his name, the IGP then, who was appointed by President Mills. Nevertheless, every week, I think it was a Thursday, the region, and in every region, we meet with the police to tell them our problems, to tell them the issues of development. Madam, on election day, anybody from MPP who misbehaved, you are arrested. Even MCEs, you remember some MCEs were found with machines and they were arrested and nobody could complain. And so the way the police dealt with it, if you remember, 2012 was one of the most incident-free elections in this country. The fight started after the complaints against the EC, not the police. So the police, in terms of IGP Kudalo and his team, if they give us the assurance, one, they work with us. There's only 30 days left now, but they can start. If they've not, if they are, we continue. And they work like that, there will be no problems. Now we have the police and social media, which has become a big controversy, threatening to shut down social media on election day.
But that is resolved by the president.
Well, but the president can't resolve it because you see, the police, they are saying that for security reasons, if they like, they will turn it off. And I'm saying that thing brought chaos, confusion. The countries who practice this are, for example, Bangladesh, North Korea, Iraq, and Syria. We don't want to be like those countries. We want to be like America, England, and so on, where they will set up teams to monitor and to counter activities of any people, who even go to the level of ISIS. Because ISIS, they use social media, but nobody closes social media. We have to monitor it, we have to scrutinize it to make sure that it works in its entirety for the benefit of everybody. So, for me, the issue of the tenure of the IGP and so on and so forth, I think it should not be synonymous to the president who has come in per se. But we can also make it eternal. I think that the issue of an EC boss, in other countries like in Nigeria, Jega, for example, finished a 7-year term. So it is not coterminous to anything in terms of you winning your power. Different level. Jega has just finished. So the new person is appointed. You have 7 years. So you may fall in between somebody else or whatever. It is not about retirement. So if, for example, EC boss, we say, okay, you have 7 years. Give us your best. IGP, you are not going on the 8th of January. You have 7 years. Give us your best. Then we won't have situations where people can come and change logos and so on and so forth. Because I don't think an IGP, for example, can come and change a logo of the Ghana Police Service. Neither should an electoral commissioner not be able to change a logo which has the coat of arms. And then today we have dots, we have stars. To me, a Ghanaian, I don't see the correlation between dot and colors with electoral commission, which had coat of arms, a ballot box, and a paper. He looks after elections. This one is police. This one is army. This one is customs. You see it. So all those things, we must now put them in law, and as they say, bring back our logo. So these are issues that I think that if we sit down as a nation, and my brother rightly said, look, MPP, NDC, all the rest of the parties, we have a conference, sit down, let us write certain things which will transcend us, so that whether you are in power or not, it is to the benefit of the country. I think it will be the right way forward to be able to deal with some of these issues.
Lloyd, moving forward, how do you foresee the EC managing electoral disputes of this nature as we've just gone past, so that they can still operate within the purview of the law and not be tagged as power drunk?
Yeah, you know, the first thing that they have to do is to set up their internal legal system. If it is there, well staffed, when these problems begin to crop up, they will be able to handle them. But they should not wait till someone take them to court. Then they also make another counter court, go up, higher. So what I think is that there must be that internal legal system that will be strong enough to deal with the various political, parties and other institutions. Yes, they can have the external ones when it comes to that problem. But if they don't have it, and the internal arrangements, is always full with suspicion. These are the problems that we have. And I think we've had issues over the years through Justice Crab and all that. We never had problems.
In fact, some of them were sole commissioners.
Yes, sole commissioner. So please, let's have the internal legal team to deal with some of these initial problems. When they are getting out of hand, then we can. Then the second issue is that arbitration should be the best, option. We should trade off a lot of things. Then thirdly, the political parties should not insist that we want this done. We want this done. If this is not going to be done, then we are going to do this. It will not help the cause. Then that's
the
all.
EC too. What should they do? Because you have advised the political parties. What advice you have for the EC?
That's what I'm saying, that the EC should have its illegal team there.
No, but the EC too must follow the law.
Sure. So that if the legal team is there, definitely they can tell that, boss, the law says this, so let's go by that. Even if you are a lawyer and you have a case, you will still go and hire a lawyer.
Yes.
That's
always better.
Yes. So if you have your team there, your team will advise you that, look, the way a manner we are going, it is not going to be good for us. So let's go strictly to the law. If we have to even review it, let's do it in consultation with the various political parties. And then I think, we can move forward.
Doc.
Yes, I think in ensuring that we have peaceful elections, the EC has a role to play, as my colleague has said. The bit about dispute resolution and the grievance resolution, they should decentralize the process. It shouldn't be in a situation where everything will have to come to Accra before it can be resolved. They should give the district and the regional officers some level of powers or some leverage to be able to handle some of the issues as and when they come up. And then also the ruling party or the ruling government and the opposition should also have a role to play by advising themselves. And I like what my colleague here indicated, that there should be some element. We should expect some element of disappointment, because it's only one political party that can win. So we should start preparing the minds of our people. And then again, the commissioners should ensure that they work as a team. They should not be in Accra. I advise that most of them should find themselves in the regions so that they would have first-hand information as far as what is happening on the ground. And the Electoral Commission should also come out confidently and inform and assure all Ghanaians that they are on top of issues. What has happened, it's past and gone. They are moving on in confidence and give us the practical assurance that all will be well. Once we are able to get these things, I'm sure to really help us. And then the police and other security agencies should continue to forge very good working relationships with the other security agencies or security units with the various political parties. It's very important because you can say that you've disbanded them, but no political party would allow its flag bearer or any of its activities to be organized without them having their own internal security. They should have a way of working hand in hand with them. In fact, coaching them, guiding them, giving them some tidbits when it comes to security issues, and then they should just work together with them. And I'm sure once they're able to do that, we're going to have a very peaceful elections. And if possible, let us also consider declaring the day a holiday, as somebody has said.
But before I come to you, there is a message specifically directed to you. So let me read.
Okay, before you read the message, because he said something which is very important.
Yes,
you know, the holiday.
No,
the holiday.
Okay,
the holiday. I can't believe that as a country we are not considering that we should rather have it on the 7th. In fact, what I hear which is disturbing is the 7th, some schools have been given examination on that day by the Ministry of Education that they should go and write exams on the day of voting, or by also by some of the institutions. And so it's unbelievable. This is a day where we should allow anybody above the age of 18 who is not on emergency service the opportunity to vote. The exam can be moved to the next day or even the next week, but the election day is a constitutional day and cannot be moved. So I also back the call that we must just do this for the benefit of Ghana, and in the long run it is Ghana who will be the winner, because we want people who go and vote for a leader, not to impose a leader on them.
Right. We have more messages in here. This one says, I completely disagree with Mr. Ilbert on the compensation for defeated flag bearers. The populace or the electorate did not ask any of them to stand for presidency. So we can't use taxpayers' money, which must be used for development, to pay them. They must know it's a game of lose or win. It's a great shame for me and to us as Ghanaians for such an EC logo. I think it is referring to, Adam is referring to what you said concerning, which has no meaning to our custom, values, tradition, and has nothing to do with Ghana. So Adam, thank you. Is a 2-in-1 comment. This one also says, I think what happened to the Constitution Amendment? My name is Kofi Gohoho. I think Constitution amendments will resolve all the problems we are having as a country. This says, are you sure the IGP and his policemen are up to the task to ensure a peaceful election? There is the fear that it is for rigging the election. Oh, how can you make such wild emotions? Okay, he also says, yeah, we are our own enemies because we reject the selfless leaders in Nkrumah and Atamils, but the late President Atamils, but rather go with selfish leaders. We must reap what we sow in happiness. Ted P. Thank you very much, Ted P. Albert.
I think I appreciate the strength of character that has been exuded by Hillary Clinton in the face of an unexpected defeat, and I believe Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo did the same after the Supreme Court ruling. And historically, Prof. Mills and all other people that have lost elections have shown that they would on any day put the interests of the country ahead of any partisan interest. I would call for that on the part of any party that loses. We just need a rehash of the goodwill gesture that has been shown in the past. Number two, when the EC communicates to us, the Ghanaian populace, I would want to see the thrashing out of such thorny issues being done in the full glare of the cameras. It doesn't hurt if the General Secretary of each political party that is contesting, we now have 7, would flank the Electoral Commissioner when she communicates to the nation, to show us that whatever she's communicating is based upon consensus that has been built, and there is fair representation for each of the political parties. Maybe GBC will organize a debate, a presidential debate. We have only a few days to the election.
We will. Yes, it's in the pipeline.
But in case the pipeline becomes too long,
Or
we don't
get
get to
bust.
goes bust, and we don't get to witness it, I would call on each flag bearer to address the nation on the eve of the election day. So Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should address the nation. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama should do the same. Dr. Edward Mahama and all others should address the nation and address party followers. That we would only be 24 hours from a date with fate, and the pendulum can swing in any direction. And on election day, I want to see the chronology of events explicitly explained to the Ghanaian electorate. What happens from 5 a.m.? At what point do we queue up to vote? And as the EC told us, when exactly is going to declare the result, in case everything goes on smoothly? Is it going to stick to the 72-hour ultimatum it has created for itself? So that we know the sequential flow of events. People don't, take us by surprise by declaring that party A or party B has won. So December 7 will be critical for this country. But contrary to conventional knowledge, that this election will be a test of character for our stability, I believe we will record one of the most peaceful elections we've seen since 1992.
Coach,
Yeah,
you've been in a thinking mode for a long time.
Oh yes, I was reflecting on the presidents or the various presidential candidates talking to, and I think
On election day?
no, on the eve,
Okay,
or at least 2 days before the elections day. I think it's a very good idea, which I hope Mike and the rest will pick it up and then see if they can talk to to us, how we should all conduct ourselves and how we should behave. This is not a war, talk to us, appeal to the conscience of everyone, especially the hardcore supporters, so that we all turn up in our numbers, and I think if we really do that, it will be, a novelty, and it will go a long way to assure, all of us that come what may, December 7th will be peaceful than ever.
Mike.
Yes, thank you very much. I think in general, what we just have to look at as a country is we need to find a way to deal with problems. If you're a married man and you have problems in your house with your wife or your children, and you don't deal with them and just tell your wife that let there be peace, it's not going to work. Peace, as a famous reggae musician says, it would only go with equal rights and justice. If you don't give equal rights, and by that we mean all the political parties should be treated equally, and then there must also be justice, like the Supreme Court can be seen to be doing justice. When they realize it's not, they say strike it out, they say delete this, they say bring this. A recent one was the issue of the collation sheets. We saw how that was a big problem in the recent hearing in terms of the Supreme Court of 2013. So the answer was, do we wait again where you go to a polling station, you get a sheet, a copy of the results, but when you go at the constituency level, the EC takes everything and they don't leave a copy? Because there was not the availability to do what we call the parallel vote tabulation. So the EC, for example, under this court case, has now been ordered that they must give a collation sheet there. So you see that this, for example, is going to enhance transparency. And if you remember the list I read for you, it's not just about the independence, it's going to enhance transparency. And when you enhance transparency, you enhance justice. And once justice is enhanced, you enhance peace. Because as a country, we are all Ghanaians. We all love our country, Ghana. The motto for Ghana is not peace and tranquility. It is freedom and justice. And the reason why Ghana has been such a peaceful country, the only country that has not gone for civil war, I dare say, in the whole of West Africa, is Ghanaians believe that once there is freedom and there is justice, automatically there will be peace. And that is why we have had the peace all this time. So we entreat the EC, for example, because they are dealing with elections. We entreat the police. Equal rights and justice will lead to peace in this country. And that is where I want us to look at this within that context. The issue of the 72 hours, it is within 72, so they can do it even before. The only thing is that they have to also be given a deadline, because if you're not careful, EC is dilly-dallying for 1 year and they haven't answered it. But within 72 hours, they must answer it. Look at the American results. They started coming to the media straight from the polling stations. Come in, by the time it gets to the collation center, collated, everything is done. That is the kind of thing we want. Finally, one of my brothers on the other side, I think it was Ebert, said that the political parties, we should just, accept the results and everything, and we should be vigilant at the polling stations. If the electoral list is problematic, because that's a better way to describe problematic, you will still have the voting at the polling station, but it won't reflect what Ghanaians have voted. And let me give you an example with experience of elections. Proxy, for example, means that if Ibad's wife is not available, but Ibad's wife has filled in an application form, Ibad will vote twice. Ibad is nominated by the wife to vote for her. So when Ibad goes, he will work with 2 papers, and then it will be done. Okay. But if the list in itself is fraudulent, and it has more proxy voters than is actually allowed, all of us here will vote proxy, when actually the proxy is only 2. But you have now 10 extra votes that were not supposed to be there. That is where the problem comes. So at the polling station, they will count with the 10 extra votes, record with the 10 extra votes, put the 10 extra votes at the collation center, but there's still a fraud because the list has allowed that gap. And we call it vote padding. That is how there was a problem with the overseas one, for example, where the list was supposedly 243, but they were only able to bring 700 and something to court. So all those ones can be padded because they will be ticked as people in the register, but they actually don't exist. So this is the problem where the register itself must be sacrosanct. Then from there, you can move to the next level. Now, I saw something very interesting in this election, the American election. They were using pens to vote.
Yes.
Pen. So if this is President John Mahama's face, and let me use that because today we say we are not doing politics, and I want to vote for President John Mahama, I just go and I tick the pen next to him, the space next to him. So when I fold the paper and put it in, there's no smudge of the ink, because remember that as for this hand, it's already identified me in the ink. So there's no smudge, and there's nothing like, oh, this one is a rejected ballot. Because in last election in Ghana, rejected ballots got more than PPP, got more than CPP. In fact, he was number 3. He was 3rd rejected ballot. So I think we should look at it. Big pens in the ballot. And then when you go, you just tick next to your person. Pen is very easy. Pen is not going to smudge when it's big in particular. So we should look at all of these things to advance and improve our country, so that one day we'll be able to leave a certain rich legacy for our children. Because this, for example, is not politicization. Now, if I go and suggest this to the EC, and then the EC will, let's say no, and be dilly-dallying, you see that then there's some issue. Of course, on something like that, I don't think there's any regulation backing it, so you can't go to court. But let us find solutions to our problems. Because if we apply that same manner, Then we'll be able to deal with our economic issues, our industrial issues, and then move this country to the next level.
Doug, your take?
Well, I think we should all go into this election knowing that the future of Ghana is in our hands. Posterity will never forgive us if we don't do things right. Let us all operate as partners in consolidating the democratic gain that we've made in this country by being vigilant, by making comment that would advance the cause of democracy. The Electoral Commission would have to also adopt a posture of being in the middle and being practically neutral in all of this.
But you made mention of the U.S. election. Let's touch briefly on it. How would a Trump presidency impact the African continent? Just a quick reaction.
I think the world should learn to get along with Donald Trump. If he's not impeached, then he will stick around for 4 years or even 8 years.
Should he also learn to get along with us?
He has to do a mutual. It has to be a mutual thing. Junior, I think people should begin to. I was invited by the U.S. government. I was at Congress, and I was given a fair appreciation of the U.S. electoral process. Between now and January, he's going to undergo a lot of grooming and orientation. And you saw in his victory speech, he didn't sound Trump enough. He struck a lot of conciliatory notes. So moving forward, by January, all the outlandish and outrageous things the world heard during the campaign trail will not be part of the scripts he'll be reading as president. So expect Trump to be more presidential and more diplomatic moving forward. But as for America's policy for Africa under Trump, I checked and cross-checked and realized he has got investments in the Middle East and elsewhere. He has never done business with Africa. So how will he sit with black African leaders? And that is the concern I have. Some people see him as racist, and there could be...
Is it people who see him as racist, or he has professed that?
I wouldn't say it's a character trait that an American president is racist. But how will he sit with President Mahama or President Konadu, for example, in 2017, with his towering figure, and what will be his body language? That is a little challenge I have. America's policy for Africa under Trump. And also, I would also want to point to the fact that the U.S. is a systemic, the U.S. presidency is systemic. Remember Obama's speech in Cairo and what happened subsequently. Instead of rapprochement with the Arab world, we saw an escalation and exacerbation of America's drone attacks on people in the Middle East and North Africa. So he will be controlled. He will not bring to bear his own personality and persona on America's foreign policy. So let's not be too jittery about Trump sitting in the Oval Office. I believe we'll be just fine. And finally, I'd want to wish Michael Quay and the MPP the very best. I wish the NDC the very best. I wish the NDP, the PPP, PNC, and all political parties, the independent candidates, CPP, I wish them the very best. I believe as a country we always put our best foot forward. Each of the people that has presented himself or herself to be president is competent enough, is capable enough, and is patriotic enough. So whatever the outcome, I pray and implore everybody to accept the outcome, and let's forge ahead as a country.
Doug,
Yes,
President-elect Donald Trump on Africa.
On Africa. I want to agree with you, Brad. When you look at his posture, I look at his statement, I look at if he really wants the people of America and the whole world to take him serious, I want to believe that he may want to walk his talk. But again, the American society is a systemic society. The system will contain and manage him.
But this is a man that has majority in Senate and in Congress. Do you think what he thought out to do wouldn't materialize once he has the backing of
they will look at its effect on the foreign policy of the people of America. They will also look at it in the context of national development, the integrity of America. You know, in America, America first. So the Secret Service is there, the FBI is there, his own advisors are there to guide him, but the system can contain him. The system can contain him, and we're going to see a different Trump come January 2017. In my view.
No.
Yes, in my view.
Did you say no?
No. I mean, we shouldn't, deceive ourselves. When you listen to all his speeches, you could see that he's a really, an American guy who is saying, "Bring back my America. I want to now take over as America." And I'm pretty sure that the foreign policy of America from 7th January will change. Seriously, will change. So we should not deceive ourselves. We should now look inward in Ghana, for that matter, Africa, that we don't have any better ally again. We can look at them from a distance, but we should not think that, the good things that we had, over the years will continue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we should be very careful. And I know, I'm assuming that the policy, American policy to Africa will change. Seriously.
Yes,
Yes, will change.
And I think everybody agrees to that.
to the extent that the Republican Party over time has proven to be hawkish in terms of its foreign policy gestures, the Iraq war, the invasion of Afghanistan, all of them. And Obama, America has sought to lead from behind. All the Tomahawk cruise and Tomahawk missiles that were deployed against Gaddafi came from the U.S. It wasn't the Brits or the French. But animosity towards America was at a nadir. It didn't reach a crescendo. It was at the nadir under the Democratic President Obama. But this guy is a no-nonsense guy, and I believe he would want to meet Putin boot for boot and boot for boot. Putin annexed Crimea and nothing happened. This guy would want to resuscitate some of the geopolitical disagreements these world powers have towards each other. And expect a few outbursts every now and then. He may not go according to script. Just like the Filipino president did to Obama. So during G8 summits, G20 summits that will bring together African leaders, once in a while, expect Trump to be in his usual element, usual unpredictable element. But I believe as a person, he'll be whipped in line so that he represents the American dream and what America foresees for the international community during his tenure as president.
Mike, a Trump presidency and its impacts on the African continent in general.
Well, I was one of those who woke up to a great shock because I strategically, with my experience with American election, realized that staying up from 11 till 4 serves no purpose because things are being tallied, racked up, and so you won't see anything. So I went to bed, set my alarm for 4:30 in the morning, and woke up to grim-faced Hillary supporters. And my face also was grim. And yes, Donald Trump won. Man noted for all his funny statements and all the various things he said in the past about Mexicans, Nigerians, and so on and so forth. Nigerians include Ghanaian, in fact, as the women, disastrous. And Hispanics. And yet, if you look at the pattern of the voting, he actually got more Hispanic votes than his predecessor, Mr. Mitt Romney, before him. Unbelievable. He got more in the women vote, the white women vote, in some cases by 2 points. And it makes you wonder. In some cases, he even beat Hillary. And in some cases, it was just 2 points beneath her. In areas that he had truly and well offended, like white women in America. So, it's done. We are going to get used to it. President Donald Trump. The Republicans are an enigma. As much as the Democrats sort of seem to like Africa, it's the Republicans who tend to give us more money. I don't know how and why. No, I don't know. Somehow, I don't know whether it's for control or for whatever, but they tend to then give us more. When you look at the things like Millennium Challenge account, you look at this, you look at mosquitoes, 70 million. These are things Obama never continued. But they give those monies to people. I think in their case, usually is to influence something. Maybe they want a military base in your country, or they want something, so they start giving you goodies. But funny enough, the Americans tend to give Africa more money under the Republicans. I would want the expert here to give us some of the reasons why they play that game. Because we all know that the foreign aid, when they give you $1, they take $2. In a way, they'll find a roundabout way to take it. So
you're foreseeing a Trump president giving Africa more?
I think he will do it. He will do it in the interest of America. He will do it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, in my conclusion is that Trump's presidency is unpredictable. Anybody who could predict Trump winning Republican nominee is a liar. Anybody who could predict him winning the election is a liar. We cannot predict his presidency. In fact, at the end of the 4 years, all of us are going to be gaping and watching and be like, wow, did he do this? Did he say this? Did he go there? Because he's going to do things that we have never even thought possible. Whether it's going to be positive or negative, we live to see. But Mr. Trump, either way, the American people will determine. They will determine in 4 years' time whether you are fired.
Okay, the Trump issue was just, by the way, I noticed that Edward, you wanted to add
short
something.
Intervention.
Yes, just a short one.
I think Junior solicited my opinion why the Republican Party tends to give a lot of freebies to African countries. I must repeat, I had the opportunity to meet those that sit on top of USAID. In fact, the US embassy is poorer than USAID. And USAID has a bigger budget than the embassy. So the political attaché is not as rich as the country director for USAID. Of course, AFRICOM has a stake in certain strategically positioned country. Why would they be interested in Niger or Burkina Faso that is landlocked? Why would they be interested in Somalia, around the Horn of Africa area? So they look at their strategic interests and want to invest in certain countries more than they do in others. But of course, interventions come every now and then, so that you look at some of the problems. When Ebola struck, I believe the US and the Democratic leader Obama was committed enough to pumping enough resources into West Africa to help. So America has got permanent interests. It doesn't have permanent friends or allies. So therefore, it's a point I think we need to look at quite critically. They use you and dump you when it is convenient. So therefore, you will see America cozying up to Tunisia at some point, then they neglect Ghana. At other points, you see America taking a stake, a serious interest in Nigeria. The creation of Buhari, for me, was a grand enterprise by the U.S. State Department to make sure Goodluck Jonathan, who was not complying with them in certain areas, would leave the scene. So they make and unmake regimes based upon their geopolitical interest they have in you at any point in time. So Junior made a point, and I'll end with this, that America should expect in Trump either its best president or its worst. If there will be a third world war, then it should come under Trump, under the watch of Trump. If America should see some of the mammoth developments in, welfare for the. I noticed that in the U.S. there's a lot of gentrification. Indigenous Americans cannot afford accommodation within in downtown. So foreigners are pushing them out. That was why he talked that let's reclaim America, let's make America great again. He was speaking for the silent majority. So political scientists for so long will continue to teach their students at uni level what enigma this election has been and the mystery surrounding the victory of Trump. So we couldn't have predicted this, and we will not predict what he will be in 2017.
Okay, so There you have it. This one says, tell Michael Quay Jr. that some of us predicted a Donald Trump win of both the nomination and the presidency. I repeated my prediction on TV last Sunday. Some of us can analyze situations without depending on the media, and we are not liars.
Well done.
KK Pratt. Is that Kwesi Pratt?
No, but whoever
Okay.
it was, well
KK
done.
Pratt.
Well
Thank
done.
you very much. This one says, voting. Are you okay? They are colorfully informing us that they are going to shut the media down. Listening to them is not that bad, but we must learn to study their actions. Preaching peace is not bad, but they are not preaching what will erupt violence. That is 1 + 1 = 7 for some of us, and 1 + 1 = 0 for some of us. Voting for Mahama is not voting for more insecurity. Ted P. Thank you, Ted. This one says, whether Trump or no Trump, we can make it for ourselves as Africans only if we are serious as a people. This one says, please, we don't even know the names of your guests. I only know the great lawyer of MPP, Boutros Ochoe Ashanti Jabe. Oh, really? Right. So to my extreme left is Irbad Ibrahim, who is a private consultant on international relations, diplomacy, and security. He is also the ambassador for election, the peace ambassador for election 2016. Right by Irbad is Dr. Eric Odro Osai. He is the Dean of Graduate Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Governance Studies. And right here is my senior journalist, Lloyd Evans. He is also the president of the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists, and Mike Okwe Jr. is a lawyer with Azozia Law Consult. Yeah. Right, so finally, we know democracy is the freely expressed will of the people. Irbad, election 2016, what is your message for Ghanaians, the populace? We've had so much for the EC and the politicians.
Malcolm X once said, democracy is disguised hypocrisy.
In a minute.
And someone also said, democracy is the tyranny of the majority. Hillary lost not by popular vote. She only lost because of the electoral college votes. So choices that are made by the 50% plus one people that vote may not be the best choices. But let's make do with whatever choice the Ghanaian people make. And I believe everybody is committed to Ghana's peace and long-term stability. Let's go into this election. We are only shy of a month, some 26 days away. There will be moments of tension, but I believe we can pull this off successfully and peacefully. So let's continue to be committed to Ghana's peace. But we'll also call for equity, justice, and impartiality on the part of all stakeholders, including the Electoral Commission.
Your minute is up. Doc.
Yes, that we should know that we should go into this election as one united group of people and come out as one united group of people. We should respect each other's views. Your vote is as important as the other person's vote. Go and then do your voting, leave the scene. Whichever result comes out, accept it in good faith, and let us move forward in confidence as a nation.
Well, I would say that our political leaders must be very circumspect with their words, their expressions. We shall be vigilant. We shall watch. Those harsh words doesn't, benefit anybody. These things, when it gets to the people, the down, those on the grassroots, they take it in another vein. So we should be very cautious of some of our words and expressions, and let's all go into the 2016 election with peace and understanding, and so that at the end of the day we shall all be the winners.
1 minute, Mike.
Yes. Today I'll just say that the EC, you have a duty to act fairly. The police, you have a duty to act fairly. And Ghanaians, the other parties are not represented here. So please vote for any of the 7 that you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, gentlemen, for passing through and sharing your depth of knowledge with us. We really appreciate it, and I know our viewers also appreciate it. My name is Rebecca Ewa. The program was proudly supported by the Liberty American School in East Legon, supported by Ashrifia Ware near Adentan Goil Filling Station, and also by Health West Ghana, and it was proudly produced by Celestine Avi, Mark Kobrasisu, and Phyllis Kofi. We'll be here same time next week in the interest of our motherland. Bye for now. Reporters Roundtable.